Hello and welcome to the latest Toluna Start webinar. I'm delighted to say we'll be hearing from both Kraft Heinz and Reckitt today about how they're putting the consumer at the heart of innovation. And we'll also look at the latest technology development from Toluna, which is automated MaxDiff, and how they're using that to make it easier, faster and more flexible to add brilliant insights to strong decisions. Before we get into the content, let's just let you know who you're going to be hearing from today. So Rachel Gathof from Kraft Heinz and Marina Albuquerque from Reckitt will be joining us shortly. I'm Nathan Wimble. I will be your host for this session. And then you'll hear from Scott Schultz a bit later with a demo of this new capability, but only once we've told you why it's worth watching the demo. For those of you who may not be familiar with Toluna, let me just give you a sense of who we are and what we do. So Toluna, I think we do something quite different in the marketplace, actually. We combine brilliant expertise, so whether that's around research or gathering insights or how to use technology, with unprecedented reach. We've got 43 million people around the world across 70 markets who are double opted in, high quality consumers who want to share their views to inform decisions. And then we meld all of that into a world-class insights platform, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. What does that really mean for today? Well, all of that combines particularly around agile and adaptive toolkits. So whether it's early stage exploration or even late stage confirmation, so whether it's ad campaigns, ad testing, we're able to provide this agile hybrid solution that increases speed, does so with great flexibility and is super easy to use and maintains quality throughout. And that's what we've added this automated MaxDiff to. And the reason we've added it is actually we were listening to clients who were saying that we use ranking questions or rating questions or multiple grid questions. And it's not really giving us the clarity we need. You know, if we've got 15 good insights or good things we're testing, then actually it's not telling us which one makes the most sense to consumers. And that's really what MaxDiff does. So for those of you who aren't as familiar with MaxDiff, MaxDiff is really about finding what the most and least preferred name, product feature, tagline is to really inform that decision making. And we'll hear from Rachel and Marina shortly around how they found that in their own experience. But that's what the toolkit does. And I think critically, before we meet our guests, it's the context. 18 months ago, we did this insight into 400 buyers. We asked 400 insight buyers what their challenges were and how they're dealing with them. And these 4 themes were really clear then, and actually talking to people through the pilot that we did with this new launch, they're still there today. So too many vendors to manage. So you're not getting the best value from the vendors you work with. Too many systems to learn, hard for onboarding new people, hard to sort of jump from one system to another all the time. You're not getting the best from the systems. And this point around flexibility comes out a lot. It's too difficult. You want to be able to do research your way, not in a rigid way. And then ultimately, commercially, just how do you get the most from your budget? How do you get those economies of scale? And those 4 challenges are ever present, and we'll ask Rachel and Marina about them in a minute. So let's get into the main content for today. I'm delighted to welcome Rachel Gathof from Kraft Heinz and Marina Albuquerque from Reckitt. But I'll let them introduce themselves briefly because it's more interesting if they tell you who they are and what they do. Rachel, do you want to go first?
Sure. So thank you, Nathan. I'm Rachel. I'm the Consumer Insights Analyst for Continental Europe at Kraft Heinz, and I work primarily with consumer research, consumer trends, and understanding how to translate those learnings into our brand strategies. Brilliant. So really excited to be here.
Thank you. Marina?
Thanks. So my name is Marina. I've worked in Insights for more than 14 years. Now I am a global senior manager at Reckitt, working specifically with pest control category, and our main focus is on innovation.
Awesome. So hopefully that gives everyone some context to who you're listening to. And speaking of context, so I've just sort of outlined the broader challenges that we're seeing in the marketplace across our clients globally. I guess the obvious first question is, before we get into the insight challenges, just what are the business challenges that you're seeing your organizations go through at the moment? Rachel, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I think in terms of business challenges, right? At Kraft Heinz, we're very consumer focused. It's one of our core values, but also knowing that all the challenges that are going on within the society right now, consumers' habits are changing constantly. So for us, it's tricky to always stay on top of what are consumers doing, what are they thinking, and how do we best tailor our business to our consumers.
Great, makes sense, and we'll come back to that, I know, with the insights discussion. Marina, are you seeing the same thing?
Yes, it's exactly the same thing. I think the main challenges for any industry today is how we can deliver a real benefit for consumers. So how we can understand what kind of products they need, how they use it. So any information that help us to actually give a proper product for them. So I think this is the main goal for Reckitt today.
Excellent. And I think you've rightly gone straight into as well how that now looks for the insight teams, because the business challenge becomes your challenge, I'm guessing. So, yes. Marina, how are you addressing that? If you sort of look at the way that the world has changed and that need to understand what really matters to consumers, how have you started to move with that or move with that overall?
Yeah, I think it's not only that the world is changing, but it's changing so fast. So the kind of researchers that we used to do before like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or even before the pandemic, they're not as useful as anymore, because we have to keep learning what consumers are thinking, what they need. So we definitely are always looking for new kind of methodologies, new kind of solutions, so can keep us ahead of the best insights and the best information to help the marketing team to launch new products or come up with new solutions.
And what does that, I'm just thinking about people listening to this going, well, what an organization the size of Reckitt has, perhaps more resources than some organizations. Are there any sort of tips you've got that you've gone, actually, we've really learned to look for these sorts of approaches, or any methodologies that you go, actually, we found that it was amazing, we didn't think it would work, but it did? Anything you can share that would sort of be really helpful to people to learn about?
Yeah, sure. So what was really big was the pandemic, because, for example, we normally did a lot of offline researches and huge studies where we had to go in local and go to the consumer houses. And when the pandemic hit, we couldn't do that anymore. And we have some concept ideas, like when we do an online research is not as good as an offline research, or it's complicated to talk with the consumer online. So this was something that we changed a lot in our way of work. So we are doing a lot of do-it-yourself researches that help us with our pressures, with budget, with time. But what was a surprise to us during the pandemic was that we got very good results, sometimes even with more quality than we got when we were doing offline researches or huge studies. So this is something that we changed a lot, and it's a quick tip for having this kind of insights very fast and with great quality as well.
I'm obviously delighted to hear that. I didn't know you were going to say that, but it's funny because a lot of the clients that we work with have made that shift to online, and you sometimes forget that there's still quite a lot of research not done that way. So that's really helpful. Rachel, what about you? What are those sort of pressures, and how have your insights functions sort of dealt with them?
Yeah, I think for us, a big pressure that we see over and over again is time, right? So a lot of the times when we're looking to gather insights, it's not necessarily something that's planned. A lot of the times it is, but sometimes we want to find out information or validate information as we're working on a project. So through conversations that come up within meetings, through discussions, we want to understand, right, based on something that we're looking at more deeply on a product and communication, is there a way that we can go deeper into this to make it resonate better with the consumer? So a lot of the times we want to understand it as quickly as possible so that we can continue on with our project in the right direction. So a lot of the times, right, timing is a big factor there, and we don't necessarily always have the time to set up a research with a bigger agency, especially when we're looking to answer not necessarily a small question, but a more simple question than a larger study would require.
Yeah, and Rachel, I don't know if you feel that too, but sometimes we also have the pressure of understanding what would be the ideal methodology for different business questions. So we have so much different solutions today on the market for insights. Every day we have like a new agency and a new solution. So I don't know if this is something that you struggle as well to understand what would be the ideal methodology for each business question that we receive.
Definitely. No, I feel a bit of the same pressure, right? What's the methodology? What's the best agency to go with? Yeah, there's so much out there, but luckily Toluna simplifies that for us a little bit, not to plug that right away, but no, definitely there's a lot out there.
Great. So let's pivot slightly. So we've recently done some work with both of you, which is why we're here. We've launched our new automated MaxDiff capabilities, and delightfully, it's gone excellently. Just to give people a sense of sort of what you were doing, can you just give a bit of background about the type of work you were doing? Nothing sensitive in that, obviously, but just sort of a sense of what you were doing, and then let's talk about your experience and how that went. Rachel, let's start with you.
Sure. So the project that I was working on, let's say the subset of this project was part of a larger project where we were really just looking to gather all of the information that we have on one of our products that's already in market, to understand how it's perceived by consumers, how it's positioned, and how to, right, potentially improve the product moving forward. And so with this particular test, with this particular study, we wanted to understand what is the positioning that best resonates with consumers to start using in our communication, right? So we're looking long-term, what is everything that we know about this product and what can the strategy be going forward? But then also today, what can we start implementing, which is where the MaxDiff test came in.
Great. So broader project, but this piece was specifically around what most resonates for the communication piece.
Exactly.
Great. Marina, how do you describe your project?
So my project was about a new product that we will launch in the next years. And we were in the beginning of the process of the innovation funnel. The thing is that this product is so disruptive that the marketing team had like more than 20 possible claims that they could communicate, and including the concept for us to test. And our goal, our main challenge was to understand what of those claims would be more relevant for consumers, will make a higher impact when we launch this new product. So this would also guide us in the communication, but also throughout the whole testing of the innovation funnel. So in concept testing, packaging, and everything else when we launch a product.
Brilliant. And I've sort of watched a lot of the feedback we had from the clients who took part, and what I found quite surprising was that people don't always look to MaxDiff to solve the problems that you're looking at. And I think from the feedback, sometimes it's what you said earlier. It's maybe it takes too long, or the budget's too high, and therefore it gets passed. But why was the MaxDiff so important to you? Marina, I'll do it in reverse. So for you, why was that MaxDiff methodology so critical?
Yeah, so I agree with you. Normally, we don't go to MaxDiff because, as you said, it's normally very complicated. We need the assistance of the agency we're working with, and we have those pressures with timing. And normally, what we would use is to put all the claims in a ranking, or do a comparative testing, showing all the claims to consumer and asking them to choose their preferred one, the most relevant one. The problem with this is that, first of all, it's very difficult when we have to test more than 20 claims. So normally we had to ask the marketing team to do a filter, more on their opinion, more on the strategic side. And this is not putting the consumer on the center, right? If we are pre-filtering the questions that we want to test. And the other issue is that normally when we do this comparative testing, we get very parity results. So we give a lot of options for consumers, and it's very difficult for us to get a claim that is a highlight from the other ones. So MaxDiff from Toluna were perfect in that, because at the same time that enables us to have a very specific answer, very clear differences between the claims. We could test a lot of different claims. So like I said, more than 20. And at the same time, it was very fast. So very easy to program, very fast to have the results, very fast to have the diagnosis, since the Toluna has a very good diagnosis tool. So this is what was the difference for MaxDiff, and the difference from MaxDiff to Toluna from the other MaxDiff methodologies that we know from the market.
You're going to make me blush. Excellent.
But I'm being completely honest.
No, I know. I'm delighted to hear that. Obviously, thank you. And then Rachel, again, sort of because I think it's part of it for me is this methodology is that it almost feels like it's elusive to insight professionals sometimes. So for you, what was so important about the approach?
Yeah, for us, it was really the same with what Marina said. So typically, we wouldn't honestly have done a MaxDiff to understand these claims that we wanted to use in our messaging. For us, it was really about validating actually a MaxDiff test that we'd run in the past. But like we've talked about before, we know that consumers are changing. We know that what's important to them continues to change. So to be able to do another MaxDiff to validate a previous MaxDiff that was done was helpful to have that one-on-one comparison. But also, as Marina said, typically we would just sort of put either a ranking or ask consumers to choose their favorite messaging. But I think it's important for us not to put our own bias on what we think is going to resonate best with consumers. So not cutting down on those options before consumers are able to tell us what's most important to them. So again, very important to have that consumer focus. But then again, with Toluna, this MaxDiff was very flexible. So we weren't just able to run the MaxDiff, but we were also able to add in additional questions for us to have a better understanding of, is there anything that new that's going on in the category and the way that consumers are consuming the category that we should be aware about in order to pair with these MaxDiff results.
And did it, to say did it work is the obvious statement, but did it work surprising? I know you expected to get clear results, but was there anything about it that you were pleasantly surprised by that you hadn't expected? Rachel, let's come back to you.
I think for me, honestly, not super surprising in terms of the results. I think just the analysis, I had a high expectation from Toluna, but I was additionally surprised by how easy it was to read the results. Right? I wasn't quite sure what to expect from a MaxDiff analysis, but it was extremely simple and extremely straightforward, where we could really just look at the report that was on Toluna and plug that straight into our presentation to make a decision. So very simple, very easy.
And what was it about the outputs that worked? Because obviously we develop these things with client feedback and hoping it's going to sort of hit the nail on the head. But what particular things do you go, actually, that was what I wanted to see?
I think for us, honestly, it was just a very simple graph/table that showed what is the top performing claim and then what are the top performing claims under that, right? There was no guessing on what do these results mean? What do I need to take away from this? It was just very straightforward. Amazing.
Marina, same for you. Did it cut through? I always think it's interesting when you talk about the ranking question as you did, that often people aren't giving you bad ideas. So if you've got 20 claims, it's not like people have deliberately put bad ones in. So you've got 20 good claims. Mm-hmm. How do you differentiate? And did it cut through for you?
Yeah, no, it was very clear. And one thing that I thought was very interesting is that due to Toluna's flexibility, which we have in any survey that we do in Toluna, we could include questions like Rachel did, but we could include questions for our segmentation. So we have a segmentation, internal segmentation. We have a typing tool for that. We could segment the answers of our MaxDiff. So not only we got the very clear results for the general population, but we could also understand it very easily using Toluna diagnosis tool. What were the differences between our targets? And we could have a very clear answer and very clear guideline for the marketing team. So having this possibility of including other questions and segmentation, our own segmentation, was very good as well.
Amazing, thank you. And I think if I think about the feedback, and I'll show a little bit of it in a second, that we had across all 18 companies that did this pilot with us, those key things, the flexibility, the speed, the ease, the quality of the results, cost effectiveness. It's important. You've got to. It's what we talked about earlier. Right? There's pressures. I heard you say, Marina, on budget. Rachel, you talked about speed. I mean, for both of you, it's just the world we live in today. You're expected, I think, to do better work with the same, maybe even less, or the same as you had last time. So if you get efficiency out of your budget and your time is key. That's grand. Look, I think we're about at time, so I'm just going to say thank you so much to both of you for coming on and sharing your sort of broader thoughts about the industry and the challenges that Insight functions face and how you're dealing with that, but also your experience of the new automated MaxDiff solutions from Toluna. So thank you very much. We're going to go across to Scott now, who's going to give us a demo. Hopefully, you've all got excited, those of you watching around, how this tool now works. Now you've heard what it's capable of doing. So let's go across to that, and then I'll come back and wrap up shortly. But Rachel, Marina, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. And thank you everyone taking the time today out of your busy schedules to join in our excitement around the launch of MaxDiff and Toluna Start. My name is Scott Schultz, and in addition to working with some of our largest clients on their key business objectives, today I have the opportunity to review and highlight the MaxDiff solution. We've heard a lot of wonderful things so far, so without further ado, let's take a look at the solution in action on the Toluna Start platform. Once logged in, we arrive at the Toluna Start home dashboard, our single source for all of our consumer insights collection. Here, you have immediate access to your recent projects, reports, and the ability to create new research. Whether you're looking to develop new products, optimize your marketing strategies, or simply better understand your customers, Toluna Start provides you with the insights you need to make informed decisions and succeed in the marketplace. With Toluna Start, users can address a broad spectrum of research needs, leveraging templatized approaches across multiple disciplines, including NPD, brand, and creative. Additionally, Toluna Start is a powerful survey authoring platform, giving you the ability to create your own custom surveys, further enabling you to make better, faster, more confident decisions. Getting started with Toluna's MaxDiff solution is intuitive and flexible. Users have the option to either start from one of the dedicated MaxDiff solutions shown here, or add a MaxDiff to any existing survey. For today's session, we'll review how to add a MaxDiff exercise to a custom survey. But before we get to the build portion of the wizard, we wanted to take a moment to highlight the targeting capabilities found in Toluna Start. As a truly end-to-end research platform, Toluna Start offers users direct access to the world's largest global proprietary panel. Here, users can target their key audiences, choosing from a host of essential demographics and behavior profiles. With an easy drag and drop builder, setup is quick, intuitive, and provides a real-time look into the feasibility and investment of your project. With Toluna Start, users can effectively target their key audiences with clarity, all before advancing on to the build section of the wizard. In the build section, users can program their surveys. Far exceeding the basic options of a rudimentary polling platform, Toluna Start offers a wide range of question types, exercises, and elements, including MaxDiff. To add a MaxDiff exercise, we simply drag the MaxDiff icon found in the widgets folder onto our page, where we'll be presented with our define window. Here, we'll define our solution by indicating how many items we'd like to test and how many items we'd like to be shown per respondent. With Toluna Start, users can test between 8 and 40 items in a single MaxDiff exercise, and even have up to 2 MaxDiffs per survey. As a nod to Toluna's approach of offering research with guidelines, users will find sample size recommendations directly on screen, along with safeguard alerts in the event a user selects too few or too many items to be shown at each question. Once we define these properties, we can select Create MaxDiff and close this window. And now the fun part, as we further shape and build out our exercise. Beginning with the respondent view in the top left-hand corner, we have the flexibility to use either a standard table format, or for projects that emphasize imagery, select the cards view. Below, we'll see the properties just added in the previous window, followed by a quick menu of options that we can toggle on or off depending on the particular test. For ease of use and automation, Toluna has pre-populated over a dozen commonly used questions and label options to choose from. We've also given users the option, of course, to add their own and customize it. Furthermore, customized questions here will be saved to your account and available for one-click implementation on future surveys. Next, we'll add the items that we're going to be testing. Similar to creating other text-based questions on the Toluna Start platform, items can be added one at a time individually in the rows or in bulk by using the text field. For MaxDiff exercises with images, adding is just as easy, as users have the option to upload files one at a time or up to 40 files at once. Here's one I've done already. Once complete, we'll click Save, and our MaxDiff exercise has been created. Leveraging intelligence and automation, the Toluna Start platform technology and MaxDiff algorithm will transform your inputs and ensure an optimal, randomized design for each respondent. And in a matter of minutes, rather than hours or days, we've added a MaxDiff exercise to our survey. With the exercise built, we can continue adding survey questions, or we can go ahead and launch our project to Toluna's global panel of respondents. Directly after launch on the Toluna Start platform, survey data will populate in real time. With immediate access to insights, users have a direct line of sight to the key survey results needed to make quick decisions with confidence and ease. A quick look at the MaxDiff exercise in the Toluna reporting platform, and we see multiple view options. The data view provides a key snapshot of our results, while views of the absolute difference and normalized difference offer key illustrations of our findings. Designed with users in mind, from here, we can easily run analysis on our exercise by adding filters. We can take a quick snippet of our results. We can share the report with our colleagues, whether internal or external, and even export the data with ease. One of those export options includes Excel. With your Excel export and the ability to custom format the look and feel of your charts and tables, combined with what we've seen today, we can truly gain a sense of how Toluna has taken a once potentially intimidating and complex research methodology and made it accessible to both researchers and non-researchers alike, while truly illustrating that the term agility doesn't have to be limited to simple research. All right. We hope you found the last few minutes helpful and appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. Additionally, we hope you're as excited as we are to add the trusted, traditional trade-off exercise known as MaxDiff to the suite of solutions found on Toluna Start. With that, back over to you, Nathan.
Oh, microphone back on. Okay. Thank you, Scott. So I'm delighted we're going to get Rachel and Marina back on stage if our technology works. I know Rachel's having some challenges with hers. So Rachel, we may be able to see you. We can't see you yet. So we can hear you though. So that's good.
Okay, great. Yeah, I might still be having trouble with my camera again.
Okay.
So
No worries. We've got a few questions come in. So I've got to start. There's a lovely one from Marina. So I've got to start with that one from a gentleman called Christian. He misses you, Marina, because he used to work with you when you were at Kantar and he was at Colgate.
Yes, of course I remember, Christian.
So the question from him is, how do or did you prove internal customers marketing innovation, or prove to them that online research works the same as offline in terms of answers?
So, like I said, we have a huge challenge during the pandemic because we couldn't do anything that was offline. And so we didn't have any other choice unless doing online. So I think the pandemic was kind of a driver for that because we didn't have other option. And as we started to do the online researches, we saw that the results were very consistent and actually brought benefits versus the offline. So the marketing team were getting consistent results very fast, and we were able to do more researches because they were less expensive as well. So when we, after the pandemic and when we were able to return to offline, all the team was already convinced that the online research was better in some cases versus the offline one. So I think it's more of a matter of we didn't have other choices, but in time, the online results prove itself to be very good.
Brilliant, thank you. And I'll just add to that. There's another example, slightly different methodology, but one of a very large content streaming business in LATAM, actually, again, had the same challenge. They used to do all of their screening in cinemas, and when the pandemic hit, they couldn't. And our researchers worked with them, combining our tech and their expertise to come up with a new way of doing the screening. And now the pandemic's gone, they've not moved back because it was faster, cost effective, just as good input. So yeah, Christian, it's a great topic. You'll find many people at Toluna happy to talk that through, but obviously Marina's given you a great view as well. Okay, there's a few questions. Let me scoot through some of these. The platform specific ones, I will probably come back to. We'll get the team here to come back to you separately because I suspect people are more interested in Marina and Rachel, who we can see, so that's great. Nadia has asked probably a half-hour answer, but let's see if we can have a crack at it, or if you two can. She's basically said there's lots of well-known methods of researching consumers and shopper preferences. The Likert scale, MaxDiff, and conjoint as examples. She's just asked Rachel, will come to you first. Pros and cons of each methodology. What are your views? Do you have sort of strong leanings on pros and cons on those sorts of methodologies?
I think in terms of methodologies, not extremely strong pros and cons. I think typically what we tend to stick to is a Likert scale, at least when we're doing a test on Toluna. So a typical test to understand, or typical research to understand consumer behaviors, understanding a concept, if it resonates best with consumers or not. We typically tend to stick to a Likert scale just to get a quick read on, will this perform well and do consumers like it? I think when we're looking to something a little bit more complex and a bit more with more variables, we'll tend to rely on a MaxDiff test. And to be completely honest, I haven't had too much experience with conjoint approaches yet. I think we tend to do that a bit more when we're working with our category teams and looking at the situation as a whole. So again, a lot more complex than just understanding product performance, communications performance, or likability. So I think even from your comment here, kind of going from Likert scale to conjoint, at least how I think about it is kind of more simple and quick results, looking to get something from a Likert scale, where kind of when you need a bit more of a complex read on something, you'd go with more of a conjoint. But Marina, please feel free to step in if you have different views or different experiences.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think also to help you decide what will be the best methodology, for example, if you want to do a preference on claims, we normally choose Likert scale when the stimulus are very different between each other. So we try to make sure that we don't have parity results. So when we have, for example, two concepts that are very similar, or two packages that are very similar, if you do a Likert scale, the chances of having parity results on purchasing intent, overall liking, and the other KPIs is very high. So when you have very different stimulus between each other, and you have lower amount of stimulus, lower than 8, it's better to have a Likert scale. If you have more than that, and you have like packages or any kind of stimulus that may be similar between each other, then I will recommend a MaxDiff. Now, a conjoint, I think, will be when you have your variables are more complex. So, for example, you have different packages, and you want to test the format, the shape of the packages, and also the claim on the package. So when you have more than 2 variables, then I would recommend conjoint. So I think depends on the business question. It is like Nathan said, it's a very complex question to answer in some minutes, but depends on what are your stimulus and what you want to get from the business question.
Brilliant. I think you both did very well for a complex question. Let's move to, I think, a slightly easier one. So Charlie has asked, you mentioned needing a fast turnaround in each of your businesses. What does fast mean? I think it's a great question because it varies across all of our clients. So Rachel, let's come back to you. What does fast mean for Kraft Heinz?
So I think, fast for us has been even as quick as a day. And actually, we did run that with the MaxDiff study. I know it depends a little bit on the market and what you're looking to get out of the test, how quick you can turn that around. But usually when we're talking about fast, we're talking about ideally less than a week from setting up the test to getting results and being able to provide them back to the teams.
Marina?
I agree, but the last time that I used MaxDiff 2, I had to revert the results in 2 hours. So MaxDiff was perfect in doing that. So I programmed the study in 2 hours. I had the results. Since the platform already gives the results very clearly in the table and with the differences and everything else, I just shipped the results to the marketing team in a couple of hours. So it was great.
Brilliant. And for those of you who know the platform, it really is good at helping out on the speed without sacrificing. So a shameless plug for the platform because it really does do that. Brilliant. There's some other questions. Iris has asked a great question. So in terms of communication, what kind of methodology, studies, platform do you use to find the best path or message to communicate for a brand? Marina, let's start with you.
So we are more focused on innovation, so not as much as communication regarding local execution. But what we do a lot is test concepts. So we write a concept with the key messages that we want to convey. And with the concept test in Toluna, for example, we are able to check if we are having the right message or what is between everything that we put in the concept, what will be the core message, what will be what we need also to revamp or to scale up. So normally we use a concept test.
And Rachel?
Yeah, so we use a concept test, but also on Toluna we're starting to use a bit more the pre and post comms testing. So understanding even before we run a communication based on the different routes that we think could perform best, doing a quick check in Toluna to see, are we right in our assumptions? And is the route that we think is going to perform best actually that? It also allows us to make some tweaks, so to understand where we can improve the communications a little bit. And then for even further learnings, understanding post, right? Once we've actually run that communication or that ad, is there anything else that we can take away from it? So I think, right, both in terms of concept test, we use a bit, but also those pre and post tests have been very important for us. So I think first step would definitely be looking at where are we currently as a brand? What do we want to communicate based on our strengths and our opportunities, but then also validating that with a quick test.
Amazing, thank you. Then we'll do one more technical question for you both. So Livio has said, when you carry out the research, do you analyze the cognitive biases and heuristics? Marina, do you want to go first?
No. To be honest, no, this is a bit complex to me, but no, we don't.
Rachel, looks the same.
Same thing with us, with me.
There we go, Livio. You can share with us, email us if you think there's something we could add in here. Great. I think we're getting close on time, so thank you everyone for joining. There's a couple of platform questions I should cover. What's the name of it? Well, the platform is called Toluna Start. The solution is automated MaxDiff, and you can either, as Scott beautifully showed, you can either drop it into another survey. You can actually put 2 of those in, or there's a sort of module that you can use, just use it directly. There's some quality checks questions in there. I won't go deep into quality, but yes, of course, there's quality checks in there. A lot of it for us starts with sample. So we have our own proprietary panelists around the world covering 70 markets, more than 40 million people. By having high quality engaged people, it makes a hell of a difference in terms of the quality of the answers you get. And then in platform, there are automated speed tests. So if people are going through too fast, they will get moved out, and automated open ends as well. So there's a number of quality checks that we'll be able to put through that. And I think there was one other one I should cover. Are we going to do conjoint next? Watch this space is all I can say. I know the dev team have a full roadmap of exciting things, and we've been busy acquiring and merging with other companies. So we bought a company called Metrics Lab, who are a brilliant research firm, and we're looking at how do we integrate their excellent research methodologies onto the platform. So there'll be a real range of things coming out of us, from sort of brilliant research methodologies on the platform through to quite possibly something like a conjoint. I'd love to see it, honestly. I think the response we had from the pilot to MaxDiff, and just as you've heard from Marina and Rachel, the time it saved, the ease of use, it's just a really good tool to have. So I'd love to see us do conjoint, but I don't have a date for you, Samantha. So, but if I find one, we'll contact you. Okay, I think that is most of the questions. Rachel, Marina, once more, thank you for taking the time to share your experiences, share your thoughts, and share some brilliant technical knowledge with the questions. For everyone who's joined, I hope it was a good use of your time. I know everyone's time poor these days, so hopefully it was interesting and useful, and you can go away and take something from it that improves your daily life in the workplace. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and do tune in for our next one. Thanks very much. Take care.